Okay.
Hey, my 8th graders, we are talking about landscapes. And so today I'm going to quick do a demo on how to paint acrylic landscapes, or a quick tutorial. First, you got to make sure that you're getting a good image. This image is going to be a really difficult image, mostly because of the snow being the same color as the sky. One of the best ways for you to get an image that you'll be successful at is thinking about having your landscape having a lot of different color values or changes. I like the fact that in this image we have the sky, the water, land in the background, but also land in the foreground. It will definitely change color values, and it'll help you break up the space, which will allow you to basically create the illusion of depth. All right, so I have my landscape ready to go. I have a canvas. Now, when I write my name on the canvas on the back, I'm going to ignore the title. I'm going to wait until I have a title for my piece when it's done. Artist, that's me. I'm Jean Moore. Next, medium. I'm working with acrylic paint. I'm also going to include my hour. So, add that. Don't sign it or date it until you're actually complete with it. Here's something else you're going to need. You're going to need a piece of paper. And in your piece of paper, I want you to write your name and hour again, please, specific to your hour. All right, so you have your paper, which we're going to use as a placemat. You get your image ready and in position. You get your landscape or your canvas. Now look, if your image is horizontal, you're going to paint horizontal. If by chance my picture was vertical, then you would paint it vertically as well. So pay attention to that when you're working. When I look at my image, I'm going to break it up between sky, land, water. I'm going to pay attention to some of this, but I'm going to give a very simple outline. First, here's my horizon line, separating the sky from the ground, or sky from the land, or earth. Here is where some of that rock is going to go. Please notice how simply I'm drawing this. I'm not adding detail. I'm not adding the lighthouse. I'm not adding trees. As a matter of fact, in my sky, I'm not going to include the clouds, and I'm not going to include the rainbow. Here, I'm going to include one rock, two rocks, and basically this is where my land mass is going to go. As the artist, you can decide if you're going to do this realistically or if you're going to crop your image at all, which in my opinion is great from your, as an artist point of view. When I drew lightly, I did so lightly because I wanted to make sure that my pencil did not indent the texture of my canvas. Be aware of that. Besides, if you draw lightly and you make a mistake, it's easier to erase light lines than dark lines. All right, brushes. You are going to need 4 brushes. You're going to need 2 large brushes, 2 small brushes. You're going to need a large round nose, or a large round, and a small round. You're going to need a large flat edge brush and a small flat edge brush. When I filled out my palette, I want you to notice that I didn't fill it up with every color from the paint cabinet. I was thinking, well, I'm going to need some browns and I'm going to need some blues. I added some whites, and I'm going to maybe add a hint of green in my composition. This is what we're going to do for the wash. This is the beginning. I can add more paint to my palette at any time. I'm just working with what I think is the simple color in the background. You're also going to need a lid for your paint palette. Name, hour. All right, here we go. We're ready. Now, step number 1 is to paint a wash, which means you're going to need to paint a watered down area. I'm going to start with what is farthest behind. The thing that is the absolute farthest from me is my sky. And so I'm going to use this blue, and I'm going to just have a little extra water. You're going to notice that a little water goes a long way. Now there's a couple things that you can do when you're painting, and the reason why we're doing a wash is because if you have a dry brush, you'll notice that the paint doesn't want to go into the creases of the canvas. The water helps it seep in. If you make a mistake, I don't want you to worry about it. I want you to know and understand that with acrylic paints, you have the right to let it dry and you can paint on top of it next class. So I'm just adding my color. I want it to be light The water is making my paint actually lighter and transparent, which is fine. When you look at my sky, it is a really light blue. I didn't need it to be much darker. Please notice when I'm painting, I'm trying to paint the edge of my composition because it always makes it look more professional when I do that. I want to point out that when I paint my sky and my water, that I'm actually using two different blues. I want you to think about how that can affect your composition in your space. If I don't like it after I have it on my canvas, again, that's okay because I'm going to be able to go over it later. Basically what I'm doing is I'm just blocking in color, giving the viewer an idea, or me as the artist, an idea of where everything's going to go. While I'm doing this, I want to point out that you need to be thinking about what style you are working in. Think about those isms. Is it realism, impressionism, post-impressionism, or even fauvism? You can think about that with your detail. I'm going to continue going on, or I'm going to kind of speed this along and add a little bit of my two in here. Is it okay to mix colors at this time? Absolutely. Again, you're just making your area have the color blocked in. So this one I made a little bit darker. When I work in here, I'm going to use a little bit less, and I'm just going to break in this space. Once you're done, you may go ahead and start cleaning up. Your artwork, of course, is wet, therefore it needs to go in the drying rack. Don't want to forget these two. So nice and wet. Be careful when you hold it. If your canvas is really wet, it can drip. And remember, if it does, it's okay. We're going to paint over it anyway next class. All right, you guys, I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon.